Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Guberman. I'm the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. I have been assisting companies in manufacturing quality since 2011. It's going on about 12 years now, as of August 2023. My background is aerospace, medical implants, medical materials, printing, and plastic distribution, where we dealt with every industry under the sun. Today, this video is about DEFUND, the American National Standards Institute Quality Authority. Daryl Guberman explains. They thought that I was going to go silent. Joe Bathia, the CEO, Russ Chaney, the chairman, and also you have Jameson Carroll, their incompetent ABA registered, American Bar Association attorney, Drek. Okay, I've dealt. There's only one attorney that I respect, and he was working with me. There's only one. And if you want his name, I'll gladly give it to you, because he's a special man in a very, how should we say, sewage type business platform. When you go into court, remember this. I'm going to bring it to you real quick. I had a lawyer of 40 years write me a note, and he said, Daryl, both federal and state courts are no more than smoke and mirrors. What's true is not true, and all the rest of that. And remember this, the judge puts on their robe, male or female, okay? Male or female. I guess it's androgynous maybe, because it looks like a skirt a little bit for the men and women, whatever. Yeah, it fits our society probably very well. But anyway, the judge is there as a CEO. He or she is supposed to make money for the plaintiff or defendant's attorney, or both, and that's what happens. Well, let me just say this. There is no justice for all. Justice has been bastardized over time, and we can see that with the Supreme Court, i.e. Clarence Thomas, getting all these funds and all that for the past 20 years. Once these Supreme Court justices accept $1 from a company, from a person, they are no longer a Supreme Court justice, and they should be brought to task. Yes, brought to task. But anyway, let me get back to this. So in 2019, I exposed an impropriety with laboratory accreditation. I'm going to let you read it. There's a lot of information in the description. If you want more information, I will gladly give any news outlet. Well, I don't know if you can call them news outlets anymore, but I would gladly give any reporter, what have you, any more information on over 104-plus-year-old organization like ANSI, having been bastardized over time by their management. Joe Bathia, $2 million. Waste of money. In fact, Russ Chaney, at the time he said these words to me, he called me up and said, half a nut fuck you on the phone. That must be their mantra. That must be their mission statement, because they have corporations on board. They also have an attorney, by the way, Andrew Updegrove, who's a director at large. And he was rated from 2004 to 2022 as a super attorney, maybe for a sewage system, maybe to suck out somebody's backyard compost pile. Or possibly one of those porta potties. I think that's where he's a super attorney. And by the way, Andrew, if you wanted to send me a disparaging letter like cease and desist, take it and use it as toilet tissue. Because we know about ANSI's nefarious jobs with the Department of Justice and also the American Bar Association that you're a member of. So let's continue. Russ Chaney. He called me. And I have all the data here. But I want you to listen to what he said. He calls me up after exposing this impropriety on laboratory accreditation. And they also, by the way, ANSI and ANAP are underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum and the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. The IAF is incorporated in Delaware, and ILAC is incorporated in Delaware, not Delaware, but in Australia. So I want you to listen to this. And you have both federal agencies, corporations on board, and just listen.
This is Russ Chaney. Please leave a message, and I'll return your call as soon as possible. Record your...
Yes, he did say half a nut fuck you. I sent a letter to Joe Bathia, the CEO. I also sent it to Joe Bathy. He sent it off to his attorney, and his attorney came back and said, I didn't hear anything disparaging in that video, on the audio file. We didn't hear anything. Well, I told him, why doesn't he call his wife, Jameson Carroll, and say half a nut F her to her, for God's sake, man? Why doesn't he do that? Why doesn't he take that audio file and let it play on his wife's answering machine? Isn't that a tender moment? He heard nothing. I'm sure you people have heard it. Let's try it again.
This is Russ Chaney. Please leave a message and I'll return your call as soon as possible. Record your...
Yes, ANSI says half a nut fuck you. Well, I went down in October of 2022 to picket them, because what I did is I put a 54-page document into ANSI because they had elections director at large. I figured that I could change their mantra, their mission statement from half a nut fuck you to some other quality bearing, some statement that really means quality, because they are no longer an association of concern when it comes to voluntary census, standards. Voluntary standard consensus. It's not that way. So I put in a 54-page document, 16 letters of recommendation, and then they had 9 questions for me to answer as to what I can bring to ANSI. I can bring a lot more than what Russ Chaney, and by the way, at the time, Russ Chaney was making $350,000 not for profit, well, basically as a royalty payment. A royalty payment is non-taxable at the time. Nobody has ever answered this or come out with something that said, "Dear Mr. Guberman, it's incorrect, I pay taxes." Yeah, on his full-time job, which he was, I think, into the sewage system. I think something like that. Plumbing and heating and whatever. He's into the sewage system, though, with his mouth that way. And you know something, Mrs. Chaney? If you're married to a guy like that and you approve that, God bless your soul. So anyway, at the end of this, it stated this, okay? The committee appreciates your interest in serving in an ANSI leadership position and your willingness to provide us with additional information. Sincerely, Russ Chaney, Chairman of the ANSI 2022 Nominating Committee. Do you think, and by the way, just to let you know, here's his number and the timestamp that was on my phone, and you called it, and that's where you get his answering machine. Exactly, at that time and at that date, that's where I got his answering machine. I'm going to leave it here. But this today is about defunding ANSI, and it will happen. If we defund these federal agencies that sit on ANSI's board, and most of them fudge their documentation, you have not only federal agencies, but you have like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, who skip quality processes and standards to push the COVID vaccine out. Skipped quality processes and standards. And being in the medical arena, when you have medications that are going out, the only way they'll find out a lot batch is not good and pull it back is either people will get sick or they die, one or the other. And of course, you're not going to tell you they died. Anyway, and then you have Boeing, who sits on ANSI's board, right over by the FAA, who seceded inspection to them to build the 737 MAX, and they got caught, believe it or not, by the FAA fudging documentation in their aircraft. Isn't that nice? And they have quality issues, not just with the 737 MAX, but 777 and 787. Everything ANSI touches, either they're lying, cheating, or stealing. And that's basically what ANSI stands for after 104 years. I leave it here, 203-556-1493, or Daryl, TQRS, @yahoo.com. I thank you.